My wife and I were so excited to have our first place together. We bought a condo in Columbia Heights in 2017, and we immediately started nesting. So we redid our bathroom. We added some storage, and then we built a shed in our backyard for some storage. And then we got rid of our IKEA furniture and bought a big thing from Restoration Hardware, a trunk for storage. We had lots of storage. But there was one thing that was making this house not feel like a home. It was keeping me up at night. It was the rats. Our place was on the ground floor facing back into the alley, and I could hear them scratching and digging and pooping in my backyard every night. And I did everything I could to stop them. I laid out poison. I put out traps. I hit one with my car. Wasn't fixing it. And so one day I'm walking in the alley towards my house, and I see a piece of newspaper laid on the ground and a pile of cat food in the middle of the alley. And I walk in my house, and I looked at my wife, and I say, Molly, I think someone's trying to feed the cats in the alley. And her first response is, Mike, we're not getting a cat. She says that because I love cats. She knows I love cats. When I was little, I had a favorite stuffed animal. I called him Kitty. We had a pet cat. He slept at the edge of my bed every night. I have told stories on stage about my love of cats. And my wife is allergic. And I go, I know, I'm sorry. We just moved in here. I know we're not getting a cat. But I think they are feeding the rats. So the next day, I call an organization called Blue Collar Cats. If anyone's familiar, it's the Washington Humane Society's organization that helps spay and neuter and feed cats to try to keep the pest population down. And I say, hey, someone's leaving piles of cat food out in my alley behind my house. I would love if you guys didn't do that anymore. And they were like, we don't have a program in your neighborhood. So you have a rogue cat lady, which I didn't know was a thing, but is now my demise. 2 weeks later, of course, I am walking, and once again I see newspaper, cat food, and this time a cat. And I want to pet that cat. That cat is eating some cat food, but I can't pet that cat because that cat is eating cat food next to two rats that are eating cat food with the cat. And I look up at the end of the alley, and I see a car, a little SUV with the back door open, and someone putting down some cat food and then getting in to drive off. And so I sort of like inconspicuously do the fast walk as I sort of walk down, and I'm sorry to admit, pull out my phone, and I take a picture of their license plate as they drive away. And I'm not proud of what I did next, but I called the cops. I am not a narc. I am a young white homeowner. And I say, someone is trespassing. Someone is littering. And I have a picture of their license plate. What will you do to stop this injustice? And this member of the Metro PD was just as excited to enact their full powers of law as you might expect. They said, yeah, we'll get right on that. And then click. So it is up to me to rectify this situation. A week or so later, I am in my house, I'm looking out the back window, and I see the taillights of that van, and I think I'm going to do something about this. But I think, just stay calm, don't be a jerk, be friendly. And I walk out back, and I can smell the scene before I can see it. I see that the trunk is open, and there are pallets of cat food in the back of this person's car, and piles of newspaper. As I turn the corner, there's an older, petite woman, short gray hair, wearing sweatpants and a sweatshirt, and she's putting the food down. And before I can even say anything, she looks up and says, I'm here for the cats, which I figured she was here for the cats. And I said, I know, but if you could do that somewhere else, we have a bit of a rat problem. And she says, the cats will help the rats. I'm with an organization. And I was like, well, I called Blue Collar Cats, and they don't know. It is the year 2017. She says, I'm calling my dispatcher. And I'm like, what? And she pulls out a flip phone, which I thought we were past. Hits speed dial, and I am on the phone with whoever her dispatcher is. And I'm like, hey, if you could just maybe tell her to not put her food right behind the house because we have this rat problem. And I don't think the cats are eating the rats. And she screams at me over the phone. She says, have you seen how big these rats are? The cats can't eat those. And I'm like, yeah, that's the problem. And then I'm like, we just bought this house, and they're just kind of like, we don't want them to get infested, and she could just do it somewhere else. And then she yells at me, she goes, this little dweeb took pictures of my car! She's got me on two fronts. One, taking a picture of a car was a dick move. to I am a little dweeb. Like, just to be clear. And then I'm like, I understand that she's trying to help the cats, but can she just do it somewhere else? And she says, he doesn't care. He hates cats. And as we have established, I love cats, okay? And you can leave garbage behind my house. You can call me a dweeb, and I will stay polite. But you question my love of cats. And something snapped. I said, I don't love cats. You don't know me, lady. I had a stuffed animal named Kitty, and my cat slept at the foot of my bed every night. I've told stories on stage about cats. Hearing this commotion, my wife emerges from the house. She looks at me and she says, Mike, go inside. And I say, but she says I hate cats. My wife looks at the cat lady and says, he loves cats. You need to know he loves cats. Mike, go inside. My wife, who is an attorney, starts to talk to this woman as I walk inside. And I hear what sounds like fruitful negotiations occurring. And my wife returns inside. I see the car pull off. And she says, how do you think that went? I was like, I think I got my point across. And she's like, Mike, when we argue, what do you say? And I say, the first person who yells is the one who loses. She goes, yeah, it's annoying because you don't yell. She said, do you think you won that argument? I'm like, ah. She's like, I think if you're yelling at a cat lady at night in an alley, you've already lost. We are still in that condo, and we still have rats, and I still don't have a cat. I have a 65-pound pit bull, and I have 2 daughters, the younger of which is 2 years old and has a stuffed animal that she sleeps with every night that's named Kitty. And they make it feel like a home. But I have not seen that cat lady in years. Thank you.